Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me. Yeah, why would you bet on Goliath when we got Bet David? Valuetainment, giving values contagious. This world of entrepreneurs, we get no value to hate it. How they run, homie, look what I become. I'm the one.
Yeah.
All right, we're back at the set. We are still not back in the studio with the vault and all that stuff. We got to get back to, but we haven't done a home team for a minute, right? It's been a minute since we've done home team. We had Chris Cuomo, we had Anthony Weiner. Who else do we have? There's got to be one other.
The PBD,
Dave Smith.
Oh, the Dave Smith live.
Dave
that
Smith
we have
live.
not had a home team. We got a lot of stories to go through. The stories having to do yesterday. We had a very awkward moment. We're having dinner with my chef Alper, and all of a sudden the news shows that President Obama's
Personal
Alper, his chef, is found dead.
Yep.
And Alper quietly left the house. And he says, I don't know if I'm safe here.
That is so funny.
And I said, Alper, just hang in there. You know, it's we don't know what the story behind it is. We're going to go into these crazy stories. We got some clips to show you.
Well, that explains. He was asking me for numbers for PHP. Said he wanted life insurance.
Yeah. So now it makes sense. But we got a few things. Adam wants to react to what's been happening with Israel's Netanyahu pushes ahead with vote on judicial overhaul while Netanyahu warns Israel is on the brink of a military coup. Trump threatens would be very dangerous if Jack Smith sends him to jail in new interview. DeSantis doubles down on claim that some blacks benefited from slavery. This, I don't know if you saw the story. WAPO, someone thought it was a good idea to double down on that. The 9/11 Obama, phone call, chef middle of the night drowning. We'll talk about that. You may want to know who Walter Scheib is. It's a former White House executive chef who also died from drowning in 2015. And maybe it's like a, thing you should tell people if you're thinking about being a chef for the White House.
Yeah.
Skip that job interview. Like go to a different restaurant, but don't do it. New York City agrees to pay $13.7 million to George Floyd protesters. There's a bunch of business stories we got to go through, Tom. U.S. home prices still face a steep and sustained decline this year. Economist warns home sales fall as would-be buyers face high rates, low supply. Existing home sales fall again amid worsening supply shortage. Then after a pause, the U.S. Fed likely to hike interest rates to 22-year high.
Uh-oh.
And then why the Fed isn't ready to declare victory on inflation yet. And there's a Sam Bankman-Fried story about his defense lawyers with paying them $10 million of misappropriated FTX funds. I know you reported on this a couple months ago on valuetainment.com, which was a great article.
There's a story there. Be an insider.
We got to talk about Vivek. He's making a lot of noise. There's some stories about RFK that snapped at Debbie Wasserman Schultz. You are slandering me. What else we got? Couple woke stories. This one's kind of weird. I don't know if you saw this one or not. School districts that allowed people to have their kids opt out of LGBTQ lessons now are saying you can no longer opt out your kids. They banned it because too many families opted out. We'll talk about this.
Weird. Sounds like mandates.
Yeah, weird.
Dylan Mulvaney is now looking for speaking opportunities at schools. We'd like to invite
for the
him,
vault. Could he be a
on
secret
the
speaker in the vault?
Let's invite
Surprise
her.
speaker.
And then Algebra 1 effectively eliminated from Harvard area middle school because too many white and Asian students were taking it, and Americans' confidence in higher education has declined sharply. I don't know why. Okay, before we get into the articles and the stories here, gang, we got our Vault conference coming up. CEO tickets have sold out. Founder tickets have sold out. Executive tickets have sold out. The only thing that's left is Platinum in general. I'm sure you've seen these ads all over the place with myself, Tom Brady, Mike Tyson, Will Guidara down the street in Miami at the Diplomat. That'll be happening, I think, in 6 weeks. Mario's telling me the event's going to sell out this week. If you haven't yet registered, with every crazy thing that's going on right now, this is the type of an event you want. People constantly tell me, Pat, how do we do this in this economy? How do I handle this? This is an event where you come through. We went through the manual yesterday, 200 pages. For 3 days, we're going to go through a 200-page manual. Here's a crazy thing. There's going to be a lot of celebrities that are taking and attending the Vault conference just to attend it for content themselves. I can't give names. It's based on their invitation when they show up. But you're going to see some people that are also attending the Vault. If you haven't yet registered, I think this is going to sell out this week. Rob, let's put a link below for people that want to get registered for the Vault. If you buy one ticket right now, second one is 50% off. The link will be below. Get registered. You, your spouse, your business partner. Let's spend 3 days together in Miami. Anyways, let's get right into it. Okay, so business topics is what I'm going to get into first. Vinny, be ready. So
I'm ready to go.
U.S. home prices still face a steep and sustained decline this year, economist warns. There we go. So economist Kieran Clancy from Pantheon Macroeconomics warns that the U.S. housing market is on the verge of a steep and sustained decline in home prices. Contrary to the belief of a recovery, Clancy argues we are baffled by the emerging narrative because it isn't recovering. Clancy emphasizes the crucial need for improved affordability in the housing market through recovery. He points out that affordability has declined with the median single-family house price surging 10% to $350 in the second quarter, resulting in the highest debt-to-income ratio since 2007. To achieve a genuine recovery, Clancy states, home sales can't recover until affordability improves, which requires lower mortgage rates or falling home prices or both. He highlights that the housing market is shifting from a collapse in demand and sales to a phase of falling prices and housing-related consumption. Tom, what is going on with real estate? I keep getting guys telling me, I told you the market crash is not here. I told you real estate's going to be fine. I told you it's not going to go down. What's really going on with real estate?
Well, I'm hearing a lot of that too, but we have to remember we're living in South Florida, and we've had a huge influx in demand and all those people moving here. Remember we're hearing in Florida, what do we got? We got like they said
900 from California,
900
and New York.
a week, something like that. 900 a week moving to Florida.
Yep.
And so what's happened is in Florida, the prices are not dropping down because you still have a lot of cash buyers from the Northeast that have come down here holding it. But in the rest of the United States, it's just not affordable. And remember, Pat, you knew about this because right at the time you were founding PHP, remember 09, we had just got through that area where back-end ratio, 39, 38, 45 is fine. Nina, no income, no assets, no problem. Well, that's not quite on the table here, but right now we don't have enough supply. Not enough people are willing to put their house on the market in the United States. That is still a fact. And so with the limited supply, prices have moved very slowly. And with the interest rates, which were almost 8%, but they dropped back like 6.75, 7% a week ago, that is keeping it there. And so it's artificial. And so as soon as either of those moves, Pat, we get a little more supply or the rates go down, prices are coming down, and that's what everybody is saying is this is an artificial scaffolding. Right now we have about 1 million houses on the market. And remember a couple weeks ago, PBD podcast, last time we did Home Team, remember we looked at the normal inventory is like 3.5, 4 million houses, and it was easily 50% or less of what's normal. So what's going on right now is the high interest rates and the low supply because people don't want to sell their house. Even if they have to move for their job, they'd rather Airbnb the old house with a nice low interest rate and then rent in the new place. And so we are living on the edge of a snap where housing, maybe it's not going to crash through the floor, but it's going to drop. And that's what this economist is talking about. And I think he is absolutely correct. You don't see it right now, especially in South Florida where we have other things at play, but it's going to move.
So Rob, can you pull up the tweet I just sent you? I posted this yesterday. Barry Habib sent me an article. I took a look at it, went through the whole thing. Very interesting data. And then I posted this. I said, that, because a lot of people are asking the question about why people aren't selling or buying a house. 92% of Americans have a mortgage right now below 6%.
There you go.
92. And what's the current 30-year fixed? Tom, what's the current 30-year fixed?
Right now, 6.78 to 7.25.
Yeah.
Good credit, $500,000.
6.78.
No, 30-year fix is 7.6%. The 15-year fix is 6.8% as of today.
7.5% is a 30-year fix. So if 92% of Americans have a mortgage on those 6%, no, zoom out so I can read it, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I appreciate the respect, but I can't. Go zoom out. I don't have those eyes, Rob. I'm 44. There you go. So zoom in is what I meant. My English is up. So 92% of Americans have a mortgage below 6%.
Wow.
If they want to refi right now, so imagine a salesperson comes up and says, hey, Johnny, why don't we refinance your mortgage? You got 6% right now. I can get you 7.5%. 61% are below 4%. 23% have a mortgage below 3%. By the way, if you're watching this,
Airbnbs, baby, they're not letting go of those.
if you're watching this and you're comfortable about it, post your interest rate in the comment section. I'm curious. So what would cause people to start buying and selling? Number one, Americans running out of savings. This is very interesting data. In 2020, collectively, we had $3 trillion in cash at the bank. 2021, it went to $2.5 trillion. Look at the drop off from 21 to 22. It dropped off to $686 billion in cash. As of April, we have $800 billion. We went up slightly, but as saving decreases, that panic could cause owners to sell at a lower price to take their equity out. Number two, unemployment, 3.6. Some of us thought it was going to go to 10% like 08. Hasn't happened yet. The market expected unemployment to skyrocket if Powell kept increasing rates. We haven't seen that. The third one is probably the most important one. Congress has more power than Powell. Every time Powell increased the rates to help address obsession the government has with overspending the last 14 years with low interest rates, the whole economic expansion, they say 128 months. It wasn't 128 months. It was like 150 months. If you take COVID out, that was going to go for 150 months of cheap money. Congress undermined it by delaying the time bomb that was coming to next generation. So what will happen with a massive crash in real estate? I don't think so. Maybe certain pockets. Here's the point. No politician or majority of Congress has the brass to do what actually is best for America. There's a 0% chance that that'll happen. Because the right thing to do is the following. Yesterday, Brandon and I are doing a episode on hospital cost, okay? It's something nobody talks about. And what's happened with the price of hospital cost. Per $100 of what it costs the hospital to charge, they're now charging $440, okay? It used to be $200 in 1995, 1998. So that $200 is now $400. If somebody asks you a question right now, how much would a bypass surgery cost? You know what the answer is? No one will tell you.
A bypass?
They did a surgery. They did a survey
bypass.
calling 101 different hospitals asking, what is a bypass, heart bypass?
Yeah.
What does a surgery cost? Nobody gave them the answer. Half of them gave the answer. It ranged between $44,000 to $480,000. Okay, from 44 to 480 on a bypass surgery for your heart. Then we went a little bit deeper, and we saw the Medicare and Medicaid. So the Medicare, Medicaid that were taking care of the elderly folks, the folks that are actually getting the benefits, they pay little to nothing. The people that are getting the benefits or the people that are not paying anything into it only contribute for 6% of the actual cost for Medicare and Medicaid. Guess who's paying the other 94%? The working man who's doing their part. They're paying for Medicare and Medicaid. What's the moral of the story here? The right thing for us to do with Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, you know what the right thing is for us to do? We got to change it.
Yeah.
We can't continue like this because right now the way we're looking at Medicare and Medicaid, the idea is, well, let the younger generation pay for it. They're supposed to pay for baby boomers. I'm sorry, this is not a responsible thing to do. Guys, we can hear you guys.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on. Are you guys having issues? It's a lot of... So the whole thing with Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, if the younger generation keeps having to pay for it, they're going to go bankrupt. The older generation, the traditionalists, the baby boomers are sitting there saying, no, we got to get the benefits. But why isn't anybody wanting to change the benefits of Medicare, Medicaid? Ain't nobody going to get reelected. Nobody going to get reelected.
Correct.
What does this have to do with interest rates? Same exact thing. The right thing for us to do right now is to keep the rates high for a long time, have a small little market correction happen, but that's not going to get anybody to get reelected. We have to print more money and put it in the bank, and we have to print more money to put in the economy, and people are sitting there saying, forget about what Powell is doing. So my thoughts on what's going to happen with real estate is we may see a small little adjustment here and there in different pockets of America. Tom, I don't necessarily see a big crash coming with real estate anytime soon.
No, I see the drop in pockets. You summarized it there, and that's why I talked about
Yeah.
South Florida has got some things here because of the massive demand and the number of people here. I don't see it moving a lot in South Florida, but there are already markets where it is moving, and it's the markets where the underlying structure is also there. People moving out of San Diego, people moving out of California.
It's interesting that you bring up the Medicare and the Medicaid, entitlement programs. Obviously, the big debate over the last decades have been the Social Security. Do we extend the age? Do we extend the age limits? You see what's going on in France right now with all the protests. They want to extend their version of Social Security. What are the ages, Tom? They wanted people to work 5 years longer. You have the older people saying we don't want to work this long. We have the younger people saying get the hell out of here already. The reality is this: people are living longer, and that, I'm in the longevity market, so I understand. It's an interesting dilemma what they do with Medicare and Medicaid, and as you said, they just want to kick the can down the road, just like they do with the debt ceiling. Nobody wants to be the politician that comes in and says, blow it all up. That's not what we're doing here. Interesting that you bring up the rising costs in healthcare. The only thing that I think that has increased to that amount has been the cost of college, right? We've done many conversations about how the cost of college has skyrocketed 4x, 5x, 10x, but is your education that much better? I would like to know how it works in the medical field. When it comes to mortgages, here's how I see it. Tom brought up a good point about supply and demand. Obviously in Florida, everyone's moving down here. We've seen people moving to Miami, Naples, Fort Lauderdale, Boca, Palm Beach, everywhere in Florida, Jacksonville. Supply and demand. The way I look at it is, it's actually a different terminology that I would use. I would use cheap versus expensive. So if you went to go buy a house, 4 years ago, the interest rates were the lowest of all time, below 3%, 2.96%. We all have the ability to remember pre-COVID. And you're like, all right, cool. The average cost of a house back then was $250, $275. Interest rates are below 3. All right, cool. What's going on now? Well, the average cost of a house in America today is $350 freaking grand. All right, so they've gone up 75, 100 grand. And now interest rates have gone from essentially 3% to 6, 7%. So if you're the average guy, if you're Vinny, you're me, we're just like, yeah, this isn't a good deal. And it just doesn't make sense unless you need to. The fact that you said that 92% of Americans have an interest rate below 6%, who the hell would want to sell at this point?
No, nobody's going to want to sell it. And by the way, I'll say this last part before we go into the next story, is home prices fall as would-be buyers face high rates, low supply. This is Wall Street Journal. Existing home sales in June declined 3.3% compared to previous month, reaching the slowest sales pace since January. The national median existing home prices fell 0.9% from a year earlier to 410, second highest level on the record. The average rate for 30-year fixed right now is 6.78. In the South, existing home prices fell by 5.4%, and in the West, 5.1%. And there are 1.08 million homes for sale under contract at the end of June, unchanged from May and down 13.6% from previous year. The number of new listings in June decreased, that's the kicker, decreased by 26% compared to the previous year.
There's a supply and demand there.
Why would somebody sell a house right now? So unless
why would somebody buy a house right now? Is another question.
It's like
a stalemate.
Actually, believe it or not, it's more. Why would somebody sell a house right now?
Right.
Why would somebody sell your house right now? I got a low rate. I can rent this out. I don't have to worry about it. My payment is good. I don't have a reason to sell it right now.
I guess the only reason you would sell is if you would go to rent. Meaning all right, I've had this house. I've had 2 kids. They're out of the house. Yeah. I'm 60 years old. I no longer need a 4-bedroom house. Me and my wife will go get a little 2-bedroom condo.
Income needs to increase.
We'll take the $1 million and go. What's that?
Increase needs to, income needs to increase for it to make sense. People are not making more money. It's not like all of a sudden your income's going to go up 25% a year. It's just not going to happen. So what's going to happen? Only the people that can afford can buy. Mm-hmm. Only the BlackRocks are going to go buy the entire marketplace, knowing, and then we're going to be a renter's market for a decade or two. This is the part that when you go look at cycles of real estate, the last however many decades, there are many seasons where we went through a decade of being a renter's market. People just didn't want to buy. There are many decades where we're like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to buy. Why would I buy? I'll go renter. And then all of a sudden, boom, it became buyer's market. And then again, seller's market. And then renter's market. So it's either a seller's market, it's a buyer's market, or it's a renter's market. Today, it's none of the above except for renting.
What is it today?
No, it's probably renting today. What are you going to do to buy? There's no reason to buy today because it's not like you're going to, long-term real estate's going to do fine. It's a non-duplicatable asset. Right. You can increase your net worth. But, Tom, you look like you were dying to say something.
Yeah, the last item on this is this cycle is being complicated by the impact of Airbnb. because people are able to rent houses that have low interest rates. And I was reading it only takes about 9 rental days a month to cover the house. So if my job forced me to move from Bedminster, New Jersey to Raleigh, North Carolina, because that's where I had to find the job. And with COVID and everything, I had to work, and so I moved. And I don't sell my house in Bedminster. All I have to do is get 8 Airbnb nights out of it, and I can cover that 3% mortgage. That situation and the platform Airbnb did not exist in 08 or 9 or in 12, 14 the way it does.
Very good point. So sellers
that reduces
have more
the supply.
options. Sellers have more options that I'm like, I don't need to sell it right now. So Airbnb is indirectly impacting a market where realtors don't have enough supply to sell. By the way, realtors must not like Airbnb, or would a great realtor sell a house saying, look, well, if it doesn't work out, just put it on Airbnb, you're going to be fine. So maybe there's a different way of selling it today.
Let me ask you a question.
Realtors hate Airbnb.
Guys, I have to go to a quick sponsor. I want to give a quick shout out to Masterworks. Gang, if there's one thing I can tell you by talking to a lot of different people right now with clients that we work with, there's a lot of people that have been taking advantage of Masterworks within our community simply because of alternative assets and what's been happening with art. I've given these numbers before, but I'll read it to you. An equally weight S&P has only added a measly 1.8% year to date. As a result, there's huge interest in alternative assets. Our sponsor, Masterworks, art investment platform, it's a genius, easy way to get into the art. Meaning, if you want to buy $10 million Picasso or Banksy, you can't afford to do it. You can do it through Masterworks, and you buy a share of it. What these guys are doing is absolutely genius. There was a record-breaking year 22 for auctions. And at the same time, you know, this is happening while a lot of people are not really concerned with what's taking place. So if you're somebody that's, you know, you're saying, Pat, I wouldn't mind getting into art, but I can't afford to buy that stuff, Masterworks would be the perfect company for you. As of June 21, they have 740,000 users with $750 million of assets under management. My suggestion, click on a link below, subscribe to Masterworks, see what they have going on. And if you're comfortable with the risk, everything is regulated properly, registered with the proper organizations. If you want to get involved, start investing into some more artwork with Masterworks. Again, the link's going to be below. So, Adam, you were going to say something about this whole real estate story before we wrap up and go to the next one.
You know, you seem pretty dialed in on the Airbnb thing. Obviously, you could just rent your home. That's easy. How many have you done any case studies on Airbnb? Because I've Airbnb'd my apartment before. It's not that easy to do, man. I mean, it's like, I'm not saying that it's super difficult, but I just don't know how many people are actually doing the Airbnb. What kind of stats do you have? Is it 1% of homes? Is it 10% of homes? What do we know on that?
I'm going to dive in even deeper on the stats. I don't have that in front of me right now, but the points that were made was in certain markets, they're able to keep that home and that low mortgage, and Airbnb is helping them do it, and they only have to get about 8-9 nights of rental out of it, point one. Point two, realtors and realtor groups and realtor companies like Compass are actively supporting neighborhoods to change ZCC&Rs, zoning, covenant, codes, and restrictions, also known as homeowners association, to prevent rentals. And in South Florida, you can see some communities you walk in. Now, you realize you cannot rent for 2 years. Now, South Florida has been a transitory market. The things we call snowbirds are people that come down for about 5.5 to 7 months and, you know, get the rheumatism and arthritis out of the Northeast cold. And
that sounds like ageism, Tom. I don't know. I don't appreciate that.
Not ageism. It's frickin' arthritis. And now, you know, you used to be able to rent your home, but there are certain places that when you buy a home, you can't rent for 2 years. So there is a bunch of forces here. I'm going to dig in deeper on this. Okay. And maybe you guys.
I got some stats here. So it says Airbnb has roughly 5.6 million active listings in 220 countries, and 60% of its users are millennials. Meanwhile, another article says 85% of the hosts are in America. 85% of the hosts are in U.S. And Airbnb is a $70-80 billion company, so it's not like it's a small company. The average host earned $13,800 last year. in 2021.
There's $1,000 a month.
Which is $1,000 a month. That's not a lot of money.
Crazy nut money.
But if you have a $500,000 house and you have a 3% mortgage, that's almost covering.
Yeah, that's almost covering. So again, it's another out for a homeowner to say, I'm going to go this direction.
I'll tell one quick story if you don't mind. I used to do Airbnb my apartment in downtown Miami. And obviously, Miami is a very transitory place. People are coming and going. We have massive events every time. I would go, like anytime there was a massive event like Ultra or Rolling Loud or Miami Music Week or the Super Bowl, I'm a single dude. I can kind of keep it moving, keep it grooving. I can just rent out my place for $1,000 a night. Boom, make $5,000 in a weekend. But most people can't do that, especially if you have kids, you have families. So I've used Airbnb. I think it's awesome. I've used it. I just don't know how many families are truly moving their kids, getting out of there, doing that whole thing, unless they're transplanting, moving, like you said, from New Jersey to Florida and they have their place. But if that's the case, I would just rent out my place. So let's dive into this thing a little bit more.
Let's talk about Sam Bankman-Fried.
And I was just going to say, Pat, like I was quiet throughout this whole exchange, housing, and everything. I personally, I'm gonna get with my constituents, but I do concur with everything you guys are talking about. I concur. I'm 100% on board. There wasn't one thing that I was like in my head like, I don't believe in that. So you guys dig deep more on the other thing, and then we'll circle back.
With your and yesterday at lunch, you were very concerned about the cataclysmic drop in the internal rate of return on
I couldn't even eat my appetizer. It was disgusting.
It was terrible.
I'm sorry. Guys, I'm sorry.
You were in a sweat.
Sam Bankman-Fried is paying his defense lawyers with $10 million of misappropriated FTX funds. The founders allegedly being accused of paying them with that funds. FTX faces financial difficulties and entered Chapter 11 bankruptcy proceedings last November. Questions have been raised about the funding, Bankman-Fried's defense, and the complaint alleges that he transferred $10 million of FTX's U.S. exchange account to his own name and then gave the same sum to his father's FTX account, which has been used to finance his criminal defense. Tom, what is going on here with SBF?
So we covered this on Valuetainment.com, or a little BizDoc story on Valuetainment.com, after I found a couple blurbs that were in a longer Forbes article where they had been covering all of the investigation where remember when the first paratroopers from the government came in and the first thing they wanted to know is where the flip did all this money go? They found the transfers to Alameda, remember that whole chapter? And every day there was a headline where the money went. Sam Bankman-Fried awarded himself selling his own shares and awarded himself $10 million, which was really investor money. And here's what he did, Pat. He took a one-time lifetime exemption on a pass-through inheritance to his father. So he filled out, you know what I'm talking about, Adam, or you can do the one-time skip generation. He took it. This was $10 million tax-free that went to his dad through an elaborate trust. His dad was holding it, and now his dad is wiring payments to the law firm.
Big guy.
And so this is what. So when people say misappropriated, they're careful not to use the word illegal because he is hiding behind this. Where this was
just out of curiosity, Tom. Just a legal question. So, if a guy does this in business, he faces going to jail for a long time, right? If he does this. Now, here's a trick question for you. Not that this will ever happen, but what if, let's just say somebody has more power than capitalism. Let's just say you're like a vice president, okay, of a country. Or maybe you become a president and you're able to use your powers to kind of, get money to come into the father, brother, things like that. What kind of consequences will that person face if they're working for the government?
Well,
probably
it depends
none.
on if they appointed the attorney general or they appointed judges and things.
Very strategic.
They could probably rig it. But I would probably do, in that kind of a case, I'd do something simple, like maybe have somebody maybe do artwork or sculptures and sell it to people at an overinflated price. Wow. So now it's, hey, it was an art sale. It was just an art sale.
Weird.
And maybe if someone bought some art and you thought they were a nice person, maybe make them like ambassador to China or something because they're a nice person.
Well, listen, let me just transition into the next story. Hunter Biden's gallery sold first son's artwork to major Democratic donor appointed to prestigious commission.
Wait a minute.
Hey!
That's my idea.
Very ironic here.
What's so
Hunter
weird?
Biden's artwork has generated at least $1.3 million in sales, with one buyer being a prominent Democratic donor appointed by President Joe Biden to a prestigious commission. The buyer, Elizabeth Hirsch Naftali, a real estate investor from Los Angeles, was appointed to the Commission for the Preservation of America's Heritage Abroad in July of 2022, 8 months after Hunter Biden's first art opening. Naftali has a history of significant donations to the Democratic causes, including over $200,000 to the Biden Victory Fund during the 2020 election cycle, and more than $30,000 to the Democratic National Committee this year. Another buyer acquired Hunter Biden's artwork for $875,000, but their identity remains undisclosed.
Pat, but in all honesty, have you seen the artwork? Like, you know, when people are on drugs and they're on crack, you should see how beautiful, like, his strokes are.
Can we get a glimpse of it? Can you just show
Have you
us
seen
to
any
see
of
what
his
it looks
art? Look
like?
at that. That is crack. Like, you are on crack and your brain is somewhere else. I mean, besides having sex with the underage girls that he's having. Look, is that one of them? Click the journey home. This is the journey home photo.
You got to be respectful. He didn't cross the line. Like, you know how you're supposed to.
He stayed in the lines.
I will say this, Vinny. Vinny brings up a very
abstract
good point.
on crack.
Abstract on crack.
A lot of artists
are
known to use DMT.
Yeah.
Maybe use some acid, explore the space a little bit. Some smoke marijuana, alcohol.
He's smoking crack.
You know, crack does amazing things these days.
He is.
It's actually not that bad.
I said this, Pat, on my show.
Let me ask you a question. Do you actually think he did all these drawing himself, or do you think someone else is doing it and putting it up there? Like, is this...
That's all his, Pat?
Is this all his work?
Yes, this is his gallery.
I'll buy one.
It's actually not
to
bad.
be fair, it actually looks...
Yeah, I'm not trying to knock him.
Let's fact check that, though.
I have serious doubts.
Yeah.
He probably did.
I'm with you.
Is it like you know how they say there's a ghost writer? Is it like a ghost
painter?
ghost
painter.
It might be.
Like
I'll tell you what. You know,
Peter
Dave
Max's-
Chappelle on Rick
Peter
James
Max from the
famously
70s,
said.
They brought his nephew in. Hey, we need,
There you go.
we need you to do something.
Dave Chappelle's show, Rick James famously said, cocaine's a hell of a drug.
But do you think
Seems like crack is a hell of a drug to help you do your
do you think
artwork.
whoever bought this, you think they're showing it off? Like, are they walking on like, hey, girl, hey, I got a Biden. I got a Biden in the back.
Yes.
Believe it or not,
Yes.
we looked at a house recently. I'm going to give it away if I give the details. Don't you agree? Anyways, I'm going to say this was a very, very one of the most powerful men in America. We looked at this house. How long ago was this, Tom?
Vinny's house?
Yeah.
No,
less than a month, like
less than a
three,
month.
4 weekends,
Okay,
something like
so
that.
the house. Let's just say the house is like $150 million house. Okay.
You know.
I'm going to just. So we're
Light
going to
work.
looking at the house, and it's a possibility. We like the place. In the bedroom, you go in to see how much this type of stuff has value. If I say they're gonna know who it is, I can't even say what it is, right?
Right.
I'm being honestly asking. I don't want to say whose house
Just
it was.
be vague. Do
I can't
broad
even say that.
strokes like you're
Anyways,
painting.
when we went in the master bedroom, the biggest wall had a piece of art, is how I'm going to put it.
Okay.
That is maybe 12 feet long, 10 feet. Would you agree? Like, it's 10 feet long. It's a little bit. This is 16, so it's a little bit smaller than this. And on the bottom, it says who gave this to them, and it came straight from the White House, from President Joe Biden. And this person is one of the biggest donors to the campaign. Okay, it's a massive number. That the number's not 200,000 or 400,000. It's a real
boring
number.
artwork. It was only 3 colors.
I don't want to say. I don't. So anyways, the point being, I really actually don't want to say what it is. So the point being, people will put this stuff on the wall. Okay, when you go look at crazy homes, art's being put. It was so funny because Nicole, Sam's girl, was with us, and one of the arts in a room.
What?
Oh yeah.
What's that?
Yeah.
One of the art pieces in a room, it looks so out of whack. Art's not like, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Art, you have to kind of like it. Nicole looks at it and tells the wife, says, "Oh wow, is this the grandkids made this?" And she
No.
she says, "No, this is from a very famous artist."
Oh my God.
So
Oh my
It's like
God.
a couple $1 million art. Nicole's just trying to be innocent, like,
Oh my
break.
God, the kids
so
just
what?
throw
This
this
is from the
together?
grandkids. Like, no,
Yeah.
this is not from the
Oh my
grandkids.
God.
I'm going to make this name up, but she was like incensed. She said, "This is a Kalakamas from New York."
Yeah,
Yeah.
from New
It's
York.
like,
But-
I'm so sorry.
So to art, you have to know the art community is not necessarily looking at what you see. It's a very different. So in that side, I will defend, whatever the art's going to look like. It's the eye of the beholder, essentially.
Yeah.
PBD, you've been to Art Basel in Miami.
Yes.
Every year I've been there for the last 10 years or whatever.
Yes.
You'll walk down these galleries, these aisles, this art, and you're like, I wouldn't pay a penny for that. But this over, like, it is in the eye, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and there was the most famous piece of art that I remember in the last couple of years was a banana taped to the wall. Did you see this one?
That was not just any banana, though.
What kind of banana
that was from Publix.
Publix banana.
It's like, who
yellow.
the hell is buying this banana on the wall? But it was like the hottest thing at the gallery.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is right there.
But the best documentary, Pat, that I saw just really, really fast was the Salvador Mundi documentary, where they found they think it was sold to MBS in Saudi Arabia. I think it was like how much was it?
400 million, yeah.
$400 million because they thought it was a Picasso. Might have been.
But do you know the history of that thing?
Of the actual
From 1948, what happened to it, and it was originally bought for like $10,000.
$10,000.
And then all of a sudden he gets it appraised by a guy and says, nope,
It's
this
all
is $15 million, and then it gets sold for $100 million, and 6 months later for $400 million.
$400 million.
A documentary. Anyways, I mean, the point is,
Salvador Mundi's
SPF, what he's doing, where he's at.
I love your Picasso story you always tell, by the way.
Which one's a Picasso story?
About the guy, he wanted to do the artwork.
Oh,
Picasso
that's a great
was sick.
story.
Yeah, it was an incredible story.
It's a great story of what this guy did. No, they say this is why if you're gonna buy art or baseball cards, people will come up to me and they'll say, "Pal, what do you think about this card?" The guy says it's worth $5,000. I said, "Is it graded?" No, I don't buy anything that's not graded. The only cards I buy that are not graded is when the pack opens up right in front of me.
Got it.
Okay, that's what I do. Now, some people may say that's not the right way of doing it. Because when it's graded, an organization, PSA, tells you this is a mint card. This is a perfect card. This is a pristine card. So with art, you want to buy from places like Masterworks and other places that they're telling you, we've done the due diligence. The responsibility of being authentic is on who? It's on that organization that's insured. 70% of art sold in a marketplace is fraud.
Wow.
70%.
Can you pull up the percentage, by the way? What percentage of art is fraud? What percentage of art that's sold is fake? It's a massive. Back in the days, people used to, there you go. 40 to 70% of the art market is the range of forgery.
Does that include NFTs? Because that'd be 98%.
Well, listen, you know a lot of people that made a lot of money in NFTs, and all they're talking about is kindness right now because they made so much money. That's a whole different story. Let's continue. Let's continue on what's going on here. So look, this is the problem when you start impeaching for no reasons. You're about to be impeached 2 to 4 years later, and it's kind of taking place right now. GOPers demand Biden's impeachment after Hunter's ex-business partner reveals alleged calls must be held accountable. This is a New York Post story. If you can go to page 4, Rob, if you want to put the story up as well so people can see it. So, okay, there you go. Republicans demand President Biden's impeachment after allegations of frequent phone calls with foreign business associates through his son, Hunter Biden. Rep. Jim Banks stated House Republicans should initiate impeachment proceedings against President Biden, accusing him of enriching his family through personal influence. Senator Ron Johnson commented, we've known about President Biden lied about not discussing Hunter's overseas business dealings. That video was going viral yesterday. It certainly wouldn't surprise me to learn he was far more involved. The IRS agent's testimony alleging Joe Biden's blocked tax fraud charges against Hunter and evidence of Biden's meetings with foreign associates further fueled the impeachment calls. Representative Nancy Mace highlighted another whistleblower, Devin Archer, will directly tie Joe to the bribery scheme in Ukraine. If you can pull up that video of him saying a few years ago, I didn't do any of that. Tom, when you see the story, what do you think about with what's going on here? Are we actually going to see an impeachment with Biden the way we did with Trump?
If we're holding Biden on this to the same standard as we held Trump, there's actually it's equal. The evidence is equal. And Trump was impeached twice. So I'm talking about the Ukraine phone calls. You take a look at the Ukraine phone calls and what he did. He says, hey, he should be impeached, and we're going to impeach him. And they did impeach him because he made phone calls to Ukraine and said, hey, we can do a deal and certain things can happen here. And now Biden and Hunter Biden's ex-partner Devin Archer is providing this evidence that, hey, you know what? We made phone calls and we said, hey, let's cut a deal here. This is what we'll do. It's the same thing. So if you impeach Trump, you have to, on a ticky-tack, then you got to impeach Biden.
Guess what, though, Pat? To answer your, it's 100%, nothing is going to happen to him. And here's my question, too. How many whistles are going to have to be blown till something, every week, whistleblower here, IRS whistleblower, FBI whistleblowers. Nothing is going to happen. And this Devin Archer guy, he was supposed to testify yesterday. This is his third time he canceled. Third time he subpoenaed to go to Congress. He said nope and canceled. What's going to happen to him? Nothing. Zero. The left is winning. The right barks. That's it. That's what the right just and the left gets away with murder. Nothing's going to happen to him. He's going to do his whole full 4 years.
I want you to watch
I'll bet money on it.
This is Peter Doocy and Biden a couple years ago. Play this clip.
I've never spoken to my son about going to 6 months.
And so how do you know?
Let's talk about, here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. He is violating every basic norm of a president. You should be asking him the question, why is he on the phone with a foreign leader, trying to intimidate a foreign leader, if that's what happened. That appears what happened. You should be looking at Trump. Trump's doing this because he knows I'll beat him like a drum. And he's using the abuse of power and every element of the presidency to try to do something to smear me. Everybody looked at this, and everybody's looked at it and said there's nothing there. Ask the right question.
Well, yeah, look at that angry pointing in the face.
It's interesting. Couple points. Seems pretty cognitive there. So the decline is pretty apparent over the last few years.
Yeah.
At the same time, this I'm assuming, I don't know the exact date, it would seem likely this is on the campaign trail in 2019, yes. 2020, prior to the election. We know that people say a lot of nonsense and say a lot of things. So, you know, I wouldn't look too much into that. What I'll say is this. I think it was an ugly situation with Trump when the double impeachment. Obviously, he wasn't impeached or fully convicted or wasn't held accountable for that. I think it's a slippery slope with this. What happened in 2018 was there was sort of a blue wave after 2016. Democrats took over the House. The Democrats took over the Senate. They had all the control. So from a logistical standpoint, if how Congress works right now, 2020, 2022, there was supposed to be a red wave. It was a red teardrop. The Dems control the Senate. They have a small margin in the House. And if the House even brings this up, there's no way the Senate actually passes this. I don't see it happen. I think it's an ugly situation in this country where we're just like, impeach Trump, impeach Biden. Politics is ugly. Democracy is ugly. But it's the best thing we got.
Who's going to investigate Pat?
But the question, here's the question, though. The standards held on what they did to Trump based on those standards. The American people are saying, what is it with you now saying we got to move on? We had it with Anthony Weiner. We got to move on, right? You know, conversation with, even Chris being here with what happened 2.5 years ago. It's a lot of people that are like, hey, we got to move on. It's in the past. We got to look at the future. No, you humiliated the person that voted for Trump. That person was humiliated in front of their peers. Mm-hmm. But the person that voted for Biden looked like they knew what they were doing. And now that person that voted for Biden is saying, guys, let's just move on. This is not a good thing to do. For me, I don't think it's good to do to start off with, because this is not going to stop. This is going to continue. Trump's got 5 kids. Is it 5 or 6 kids? He's got 5 kids, I think, right? He's
Don
got
Jr.,
Eric, Don,
Ivanka,
the
Barron,
daughter, and Barry.
Yeah,
I think it's 5 kids.
Tiffany.
Okay. The one
that we know about.
Yeah.
The one that they have to worry about the most is Barron. Barron's going to be around for 67 years, which means what? That guy's going to remember he was the kid in the White House. He was the one that has the highest intense emotions, that he watched his dad when he's going through stuff. This is not going away anytime soon. You best believe this is going to continue. In 40 years, he's going to be 56 years old, and you're going to be 80 years old or whatever. You're going to sit there and say, look what the son is doing now. Remember when this guy was a 6'8" person, look what he's up to now. We don't know what these things are going to happen. But when you play this game and all you think about, this is the problem America has right now. Medicare, Medicare and Medicaid, forget about it. Let Gen Z, Millennials, Gen X pay for it, right? Let them pay for it. Real estate, economic expansion, don't worry about it. Print some more money, okay? Don't even worry about it. Let the next generation pay for it. Next, impeachment. Who cares? Let's get in this guy. We got to show the world how, because let the next generation. and this is going to keep continuing year after year after year after year after. So I got a question for you guys. It has nothing to do with politics. It has nothing to do with politics. I'm curious to know what you're going to say about this. Then I got a clip I want to show you guys, which is kind of weird, how a lady is giving a speech, and the writer in the back is saying verbatim every word that she wrote the speech and is correcting them. We'll go to that here in a minute, but forget about that. I'll send you the clip. Here's a question I got for you, Tom. Which burden is a bigger burden? For example, kids are a big burden on the parents, right? When you have kids, it's a lot of work. You don't sleep. There's a reason why this panel, out of 4 of us, 2 of us have kids, 2 of us don't, and we're all over 40 years old, okay? There's a lot of responsibility with having kids. It's a lot of work, okay, and it's constant. Last night we're dealing with plumbing. Kids got to take a shower. You got to put them to sleep. You got to get up early. It's just a lot of work when you have kids. What burden is more painful? The burden parents put on their kids for having not made proper decisions in life to get the kids off to a good start, or is the bigger burden the kid that is so responsible, that is always embarrassing the parents, drugs, financial issues, constantly being in trouble, not making the right decision? Which is a bigger burden? Parent to kids or kids to parents? Tom? You know what question I'm asking?
Yep. Well, as a parent, I think it's kid to parent, because you feel embarrassed, you feel ashamed, you feel responsible. You were supposed to raise this kid and turn him, her, it, or they into a responsible citizen.
Yeah.
And that would just, to see my kid failing, I feel pain for their pain, and then I feel embarrassment, and then I feel responsible, and then I feel, you know, what could I have done different here? I think that's a bigger burden than the burden that maybe a parent puts on a kid to perform, even though we've seen suicides in kids from parents that made straight A's an absolute deadly requirement.
Let me ask a question in a different way. So, for example, Tom, so, you know, our job is to take care of the elderly. Got it. So, you know, I'm taking care of my dad. You're taking care of your mom. We're supposed to take care of whatever this person needs, mom needs, that person needs, we got to take care of. Okay, fine. How much of that, where the burden of the prior generation being passed down to the next generation, is okay? What is the responsibility of our generation to the next generation?
Got it.
Economically, is it okay to just kick the can and saying, listen, guys, you guys are young. One day you're going to have to take care of this. You pay the price for this. Your grandma's old. Your dad is old. It's on you. You can handle this. You're only 28. You're only 35. I'm 69. At what point is that burden an unfair burden the prior generation is passing on to the, you know, the whole thing about weak men create hard times create. So
Strong
maybe
men,
a generation made
times,
weak choices and the next generation is paying the price for it. How much of that is okay for a generation to pass down so much burden on the next generation?
Different kind of question. I think what we're doing to the next generation is unconscionable. And I think what they're carrying is they have to figure out how to make it in the most expensive, you know, economic times of all time, number one. And number two, now they're going to be told the only way to take care of all these boomers, and doesn't the last boomer retire on Thanksgiving this year? I think it is. Between Thanksgiving and the end of the year, the last boomer retires or hits that first retirement age milestone. And now it's like, hey, listen, all the boomers, yeah, the trust fund's going to be out. The Medicare and Social Security Trust Fund, you can look up, you can find that chart, Rob. It's going to be gone. And so we're just going to keep, you know, that little dial that says 6.5%, 7.5% Social Security. We're just going to keep turning that dial because there's 2 trust funds that are in there. I think it's the medical trust fund that they're related to Medicare and Social Security. And both of those trust funds, there's charts out there that say they are dead in roughly 11 years. 11 years the trust funds that are in there go to zero. And when they go to zero, the only choice is to hyper-tax those who are working, and that is an unconscionable burden on the next generation.
Okay, so here's by the way, the last boomer turned 65 in 2031, so we still got a few more years left. The last 46 to 64, So if you look at 64, 36, 23, the oldest boomer right now is 59 years old or something like that. They got 6 more years, so it's 20. The youngest boomer is like 57 years old. So 1946 to 1964, I'm just doing basic math. So 57, they got 9 more years. 8 more years.
I may have been reading about the 59 and a half rule. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 59 and a half is going to be probably in 2 years. But the youngest boomer turns 65 in 2031. Regardless, it's 76 million of them, and it's a lot of money. So here's a part about that for me, it's deeply concerning, and no one wants to have this conversation. We can have this conversation because we're not looking for your vote. We don't need your vote. We're not running for nothing. Mm-hmm. We don't need Congress. We don't need your money. We're not running for governor. We're not running for president. We're just having conversations, okay? As a sales organization I run, the best way to describe this, Tom, I think you'll understand this. So in our business in insurance, when you're around for a long time and you build a big agency, what ends up happening to you is you start making millions of dollars, but you don't work anymore, okay? Not the guy that starts the company, because you're always working, because every lawsuit, everything comes to you, right? But if you build an agency within a company, it could be New York Life, it could be Transamerica, it could be Primerica, PHP. You can go on so many different companies. If you build a big block of business with a lot of insurance agents, you can all of a sudden one day wake up saying, hey, babe, we're making $2 million a year and we ain't worked. That's the least I've worked in the last 20 years, okay? So then that generation is famous for sometimes not wanting to do the work, taking the money, and wanting to change the compensation structure to benefit them. Because what ends up happening is the longer you're in the business, your override and commissions on insurance, the renewals kind of goes away because you're no longer building new offices. Mm-hmm. So the override's going away from you. So all of a sudden you catch yourself going to $200,000 a month in income, 220, then it goes to 180, 160, 140, and then you level off like at $100,000 because you're no longer growing your book of business. Very interesting, very simple. This happens quite often. The people at the top, the elderly, the people that are no longer working, start saying, we need to change the compensation plan to pay us more. This is not fair. And they take comp away from newest agents who are just starting their practice. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yep.
So the small business owners that are starting their practice, they are now getting a less of a comp than the person that has been around for 20, 30 years. If you can go to Twitter, Rob, yesterday I responded to the, what do you call it, the incredible Hillary Clinton, such a sweetheart. If you can go, no, she did not respond, but you got to go to this tweet.
Pat wouldn't be here.
Zoom in right there, okay, and go to her tweet. Her tweet says, as of today, it's been 14 years since $7.25 minimum wage was last raised. President of the United States, Biden, supports raising the wage to at least $15. MAGA Republicans have repeatedly blocked an increase. What do you have against millions of working families making more? My response, what do you have against small business owners? Mm-hmm. Fortune 500 companies would love to see minimum wage increase. They can afford it. It's the small business owners who risk their life savings that can't. You're indirectly helping eliminate competition for the big guys.
Great
okay?
Point. Weird.
So there is no response. What are you going to say to that? So, okay, guess what? Walmart loves the fact you raise minimum wage. Joey's Market, that's been there for 73 years, passed down 3 generations, now is out of business. You're like, dude, that was fantastic. Thank you, Biden. Thank you, Hillary. Thank you, Bernie. You eliminated this guy that was a pain in the ass because my market in this area just went up 13% because I was losing it to the other guy. Okay. So indirectly, if we don't talk about this, the older generation, I believe, you can come at me all you want. I don't need your vote. I'm simply sparking a conversation. I believe the older generation is being unfair and bullying the younger generation and not thinking about what they're going to be having to do 10, 20, 30 years from now because they're going to be dead. And that's absolutely unfair. It is a burden that some of these guys cannot handle. And these politicians, guess what they say? This is the line. You ready? Here's what the media will ask a politician that's running for office. Will you say right now that you have no plans of changing any benefits to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid? Can you say it right now to everybody that's watching this? I have no plans of...
Yeah, of course.
What you're saying is, I have no plans of taking care of the next generation that's going to suffer the consequence of your burden, that they're probably never going to have Social Security benefits, Medicare, Medicaid. So to me, I think when you think about parents, what responsibilities do we have to the next generation? What responsibilities? What do you think a good parent, what does a good parent owe their kids? What do they owe their kids as great parents? What do we owe our kids?
Well, we owe them structure, discipline, true love, not enabling love, but true love is I love you so much that I'm going to put boundaries around you to prevent you from making mistakes. It's not that I love you so much I'm going to bribe you with ice cream to get you to cooperate. So it's true love, boundaries, respect, discipline. You put that in a package, that's what you owe your kid.
Let me ask this question. Is there a tradition where your parents, for the longest time, would help you with the first 20% down payment on your house, or a way to get you started, to say, hey, son, you're just getting started. You're 28 years old. You're about to get married. You're starting your career. You're about to buy $1 million house. Guess what? I'm going to help you with the down payment of the house to get you guys going, okay? That's what I'm going to be doing. Do you think that ought to be a part of the responsibility of parents to get their kids started in a climate like this?
Absolutely not.
Tell me why.
I mean, if you're rich, that's a conversation you could have. Some people elect to maybe say, I have friends who are well off, and they'll say, well, we'll pay for your wedding, or we'll give you a down payment on your house. I don't know a lot of people whose parents are just like, yeah, a couple $100,000, got you. I don't think that's a thing.
I didn't say a couple $100,000.
Or, okay, 50 grand, whatever the number is.
50 grand. By the way, I don't know.
Do you know a ton of families that do that for their kids?
I think in the Middle Eastern side,
of course,
that's a big part of the Middle Eastern culture.
Maybe I got to start hanging out with Middle Easterns more.
But let me ask you a question. In America, I'm actually sincerely asking this question. If you have a son or a daughter, who pays for the wedding in America?
The daughter.
The family of the daughter or the family of the son?
Typically the daughter.
The bride's parents. It's a long-standing joke. Show up, shut up, pay up. And that's the joke they always make about the bride's father.
Is that tradition still going on today?
For the most part, yeah. I mean,
would you say it is?
Yeah, it is.
You're saying it is?
The last wedding I went to, that's how it was.
Yeah.
Let's keep that tradition going, guys.
Come on,
let's not stop that.
In my circle of
Thomas,
my circle of friends,
lobbying for the other way around.
My circle of friends are.
He's got 2 daughters.
It's still happening this way.
Okay, got it.
So that means you're going to be 50-50 on this thing. Is someone to pay for your boys?
I will gladly want to give this way and this way.
Yeah.
I want to gladly be a flag carrier to do this way, because without them, I'm not around, and without them, I'm not around. But I think there's too much of burden coming down from here in this generation. I don't think right now a 22-year-old, 25-year-old graduates in a better climate than they were in. Like we're having a conversation. Peter was asking a question last week. What was the question you were asking? You're like, Pat, how is Brandon going to buy a house? He says, and I've done well for myself. How are these people going to buy a house? I don't understand how people are coming out of their careers. How are you going to buy a house? The thought of buying a house today in your 20s, and you're a regular person, not you're a peak performer, you're the top guy sales. No, I'm talking about a regular person. How does a regular 28-year-old person that got out of college, they got a job starting at $50,000 a year, then you get 3% raise. Let's say you get 4% raise every year, okay? 4%, you go from 50 to what? 52, 54, 56, 58, 60, 63, 66, 60, 69, 73.
In 10 years,
70.
Right?
It's 15 years before you're at 75. After taxes, you're only making $4,000 a month. The mortgage payment's $3,000 a month.
Yep.
So if we go the way we're going right now, the average guy coming out of college making 50 at 22, 23, 24, 25, you ain't making 100 till you're 40. So if you ain't making 100 till you're 40, you're paying 30% in taxes. That's $70,000 a year. That's $6,000. How the hell are you going to buy a house? A $600,000 house. First of all, you need 20% down payment. 20% on $600,000 house is $120,000. Where do you find $120,000? You've been paying taxes every year. You need someone to help you out. So to me, I think the messaging's got to be from parents is, one, what value are you passing down? Okay. What burden are you going to be lifting off your kids? Okay. Is it like, if I'm sitting here as a parent thinking, and if I have to decide between, let's just say I'm a regular person, I don't have the money that I have right now. Say I'm making $92,000 a year. I'm having a conversation with my kid and saying, hey, Teek, Dilly, question for you. Would you rather have me pay for your college, or would you rather have me give you $50,000 at 25 when you start your career or you get married, and I help you out with XYZ? When Jennifer and I were getting married, I had money in the bank. I asked Jennifer the following question. I said, babe, do you want a house? Do you want a big wedding? Or do you want a big ring? I'm not doing all three. And by the way, for us, ain't nobody paying for the wedding, dog. Not from neither side, because neither of our families have money.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
One's from Arkansas and, LaPorte, Texas, and the other one's a cashier at a 99-cent store. My dad brought a 99-cent Clippers hat from 1990s to say, hey, here's a gift. But they gave us love. That's what we got. We got nothing else. So I'm sitting there saying, which one do you want? And she says, babe, I don't care. I have money. You know how much I paid for Jen's ring when we got married? $3,000.
Wow.
I'll give you the exact number, $3,300. She wears it till today. Okay?
Awesome.
Till today. We kept the cash. We rented, and I said, I'm not buying a house because we're going to put this money into our business.
Good.
And we had a big wedding. And our wedding, 450 people. It was great. We had a great time. Fantastic. It was good to go. But I think those types of conversations need to be had more today to say, hey, kid, I can pay for your college, or you can figure out a way to get through the next phase. And then when you get married, I got $25,000 for you. And when you decide to buy a house at 25 years old, once you show me you can make 80 grand a year or 100 grand a year or 60 grand a year, I got $50,000 down payment to give to your house. I think parents have to also realize we have some kind of a responsibility for them, because the burden is a big burden right now on kids. Yep. Massive burden on kids right now. I don't know if this is a comfortable conversation anybody wants to talk about, because the burden will be on a lot of boomers who are sitting there saying, no, they need to take care of us. Mm-hmm. Man,
I don't care if it's comfortable or not. I think it's a very necessary conversation. I've told my kids, and I think Bailey, the golf girl, is probably listening right now because it's summer and she and the BizDoc babe tune into the podcast.
Hi, Bailey.
But hello, she says hello.
Hello.
And what I told her, I said, look, you will come out with no debt. I will make sure through your college education there's no debt. But every penny you get of scholarship, whether it's athletic scholarship, academic scholarship, every penny that you can offset through your attainment is yours. And we're gonna talk about how we use that when you graduate. You want to use it starting out? Fine. Weddings are a different thing. But Pat, I've told them. I've said, look, this is what I'm going to do. This can help you start if you're starting a business, whatever you're doing. Yeah. But I'm not infinite here. I'm not an infinite piggy bank. This is what we have for college. If you contribute with good academic performance and stuff, then some of that you're saving for yourself. And that's a contract that I've made with her, and she gets it.
Well, let me just say this. Your daughter's very lucky to have a father like you. Yeah. Because you've done very well for yourself. You love your kids a lot. You're an ideal father. You're amazing. Most kids don't have that type of parent in their life, meaning they might have the love, they might have the structure, they might have the values, they might have the principles, but their parents aren't in the top 1%, top 10%. So they got to figure it out elsewhere. I love the example you gave of the 25-year-old who's making 50 grand, then he's making 52, then he's making 55. There used to be a time in America, a generation ago, where a working man can have one job. The wife could stay home with the kids. She didn't need to work, and he could pay for the family, the mortgage, the car, the dog, the fence, the boom, the everything. Those days are long gone. So women work these days. Now it's a lot of times it takes two incomes to raise a family. A lot of times they joke and they say that the richest people in the world are dinks, dual income, no kids, and because kids are expensive. I think they cost about $250,000 a year from 0 to 18. And it's a situation these days, and women are making more money than ever, and they're looking at average men, and they're like, why do I need you? I make more than you. That's why they're all going after the top 10% of men, and there's a whole dating situation going on these days. According to the Department of Agriculture, I don't know why they're doing this. It costs $233,000 to raise a kid from 0 to 18 unless the kid's working on a farm. That figure is likely closer to $288,000. But another point, you talked about the burden. The baby boomers have sort of done the millennials and the Gen Zs dirty, right? They've run up the debt. They haven't saved a ton of money. You hear Bernie Sanders constantly complaining, 50% of all boomers are going to retire with no freaking money. But as Vinny's favorite word, constituents, that's who's voting. So the politicians are always going to pander to the old people because they're going to come out and vote, and they're going to vote on the key issues, which are entitlement programs, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Those aren't going away anytime soon.
And it's them.
Yeah.
And the politicians are also 70 years old.
We're talking about the same
Exactly.
group.
So you're looking in a mirror over here.
But let me
same cohort.
Let me tell you what I can't stand when parents do to their kids. I just got to tell you, and I've been around, I was trying to study in my 20s about parenting, and I'm like, yeah, my dad didn't do that. My dad never said, make money so you can take care of me. He's never once said that. Matter of fact, I had to force my dad to move to my house. He never wanted to come be a burden on me, ever. He never wanted to be a burden on me, ever. Like, it was hard for him to already move here. Now, don't get me wrong. He's settled now. He's doing great. He's happy, but he's still working until today. But I think when I see parents do stuff like this, well, you know, Joey here is going to grow up to be a professional Major League Baseball player, so daddy doesn't have to work anymore. You know what a turnoff it is when I hear a father say something like that? You know what a turnoff it is when I'm watching a De La Hoya documentary that's talking about, my dad told me, hey, mijo, you got to go be a boxer so we don't have to work anymore. We can stop being poor. Hey, why don't you do that? Why didn't you do that? Like, why? Like, sales leaders, I'll see them talking to their sales guys, and they'll say stuff like this. Hey, you know, you need to go around appointments at 10 o'clock at night. And what are you doing at 5 o'clock? You're at the house watching the Lakers play? You need to run appointments at 10 o'clock at night. You're telling your sales guys to go. How come you're not running appointments so you can get the override? It's this concept of people asking others to do the work that they themselves didn't want to do. Why not set the example for your kids? Why not set the example of you improving yourself in your 50s and your 60s? There are parents right now that are 60 years old. They're thinking they're dead. Bro, Tony Bennett died at 96. You got 35 more years of living to do, and you're only 60 years old. This concept of, you know, my body hurts, I'm in pain, I'm in this, I'm in that, totally get it. My dad, if you look at his hands, okay, if you're around my dad, his stomach, he, you know, what do you call it? When the intestines, he's got a hole in it. So
protruding?
No, his intestines comes out all the way out here. He has to wear a belt to push it in. Okay,
it's an abdominal hernia.
Abdominal hernia is what he's got. He walks like a hunchback of Iran. Okay, Dylan makes fun of him every time he walks. Dylan does the walk. He says, "Daddy, this is how Papa walks," and he does his walk, and they're so funny. His hands, arthritis. Okay, the guy was in a hospital a couple months ago. Never once has he used that as an excuse to not work and improve himself. Do you know how much relatives of my dad, my mom said, couldn't stand him because he kept working? And relatives that we had in our family since 40 years old have been bitching about not being healthy, and they were 10 times healthier than my dad, and my dad had 13 heart attacks. This is not a comfortable conversation to have. I totally get it. Like, I'm not going to make any new friends today. I'm not going to be like, I'm going to walk in Palm Beach, a 72-year-old lady is going to come and say, hey, how are you? You're an asshole. You know that? I can't believe you want me to work. No, I think the burden is being passed on, and these guys' dreams is not becoming a reality. So can we save this thing in 1 year? No. This is something that can be fixed in 20 years. This is not a one-year fix. But we can't sit there and say, let's keep passing down all this stuff to the next generation. Screw them. They got to figure it out. They're younger. I don't think it's fair. By the way, American confidence in higher education down sharply. This is a Gallup poll, okay? Down sharply. Here we go. Cuomo, we're having a conversation with Cuomo in the back in the cigar lounge, and he's not sure if he's going to put one of his kids through college. He says, I'm going to have the kid maybe go 1 year to see what's going to happen with him. That's a very normal conversation people are having right now. Here you go. Americans' confidence in higher education has sharply declined to 36%, down from 57% in 2015. Okay, we're not talking about like a slight decline. In 2015, just 8 years ago, we were at 57%. We're at 36%. And when it was at 48% in 2018, only 17% have a great deal of confidence, with 19% having quite a lot of confidence, while 40% have some, 22% have very little confidence. All major subgroups, particularly Republicans, have shown a decrease in confidence. Republicans experienced the largest drop, falling 20 points to 19%, the lowest among group. Confidence amongst adults without a college degree and those aged 55 and older are also dropped significantly. So watch this. Republican confidence, major drop-off. Confidence amongst adults without a college degree, major drop-off, which makes sense. They didn't have one either. But the one that's confusing is aged 55 and older. You're 55. Those are the people that tell their grandkids to do what? Go to school, stay in college, get a degree. Yeah. Now they're saying, hey, Johnny, guess what? I changed my mind.
Yeah.
You may have other options. Democrats are the only subgroup with majority-level confidence in higher education at 59%. There's a growing divide between Republicans and Democrats regarding their confidence, with Democrats concerned about costs and Republicans expressing concerns about politics and higher education. So guess what? Families are not even waking up right now saying, hey, let's send our kids to school. There's other ways to make money today. So Tom, for somebody that went to school, you were an adjunct professor at Biola, at Pepperdine. What do you see when you're seeing something like this? And your daughter just 3 weeks ago got 1560 on her SATs.
So I see two things going on right now. Obviously, the circle, my social circle, is a lot of conservative people that are concerned about, they call it here politics, it's quality. Dems are concerned about price, Republicans are concerned about quality. It's kind of interesting. It's a very economic balance there. But in my social circle, I'm seeing people very concerned about this and very concerned about sending their kid for school for anything except STEM or business or technical skill, meaning medicine. Like you're going to be an engineer, that's STEM. Medicine, that's also STEM.
Science, technology, engineering, math.
Correct. Or they're going to get a business degree because they could apply that. If you want to run a nonprofit, go get a management degree. You can apply that. So people are concerned about anything but that because of indoctrination and quality on that side. On the other side, people are concerned about the ongoing cost. That's why Dems want, forgive all the student loans. I bought and paid for something. I don't like it anymore, and now I want to get a refund, is basically what it boils down to. What I see is a problem with education itself that is run amok. And you're talking about changes in government. One of the things that I would go after is the enablement of student loans. Because if student loans get forgiven, what are the universities going to do? Drop their prices? No. They're sitting on these giant endowments. They're not going to drop the price because the next generation is going to get student loans again. They can charge whatever price they want, and the federal government is a backstop of affordability, so all these kids can just get the student loans and run the tab up again. It is a vicious credit card cycle. I think the problem is two-sided. It's the cost, the opportunistic nonprofit universities that keep raising the cost, and what they've decided to be woke and teaching, that's the problem. That is the whole problem. And on the other side of it, you got rational people who are saying, man, if my kid's not going to go into STEM or business, I'm really worried about this because what are you going to do with that education?
You know what it's like? Last night, it's midnight. This guy plumber comes up, and his name is Vinny. Okay,
Weird.
Senna couldn't believe it.
Really?
Yeah. So we're outside, flashlight, all this stuff. Here's the issue. There's flooding everywhere. It's a mess. And in my mind, while I'm walking up, he says, I'm about to give you the quote on what it's going to cost you to fix this. You know what I'm saying in my mind? Okay, so let's just say he says $1,000, which wasn't $1,000. It's a lot more than $1,000. What am I going to say? Yeah, let me get a second opinion. At midnight?
Yeah, no.
And not have water for...
He also sees your house. He's like,
he also sees the house. He sees the community. So then I'm like, in my mind, I'm asking, what's your number that you're going to say no to?
Yeah.
Then, you know what one side of PBD said? There is no number. I'm not joking with you. There is no number. What am I going to do?
Yeah, say no.
The heater is about to explode, the tank, because dirt is going through it. So if you leave it like that, it's going to go into all the, and then it's going to be a $500,000 or $1 million deal because it's all this stuff that within the house. So he gives me the number, and what are you negotiating? There is no negotiation.
No, he'll leave.
No, okay, no problem. You want to think about it?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Okay, yeah. The problem's going to get bigger.
But you literally have no power in this position. The only thing that person has to think about is, do I want this guy as a referral source, or do I want this guy to keep doing business with me? So he can rip me off once, and I'll never do business with him, and I still have to pay him, and I'll tell the world about it. Or he can be fair, and I'll continue doing business with him, and I'll tell the world about it. Guess what? He tells me the price. I said, why is this going to cost this much money? Because this part is this much money. I go online. He was right. In front of him, I'm doing it. The part was $1,500. Then there's labor. Then him coming up at late. Then he's dug a whole thing. The whole guy's dirt.
Yeah.
Dirty all over the place on him, right? So I said, no problem. Let's go ahead and do. We cut the check. You know, a few $1,000s right there, whatever. But what's the moral of the story? Guess what? The same way hospitals are not regulated on what they charge you when you stay at that. There is no hospitals don't have a regulation on what they can charge you. Do you know that? They can charge you. There is no menu when you go to the hospital saying, how much does this cost? How much does that cost? The same way hospitals don't have a menu with prices because they can choose whatever they want the prices to be. Colleges don't have a regulation on what the prices are going to be. Colleges can increase it and say, don't. No problem. Don't. Do whatever you want. There is no regulation. The only thing we ever did to hold hospitals accountable was in 2019, 2020, Trump came out with a law to force hospitals to put their numbers publicly or else they're going to get fined. Guess what? Out of 6,000 hospitals, Brandon, how many of them have been fined? 4 out of 6,000 hospitals have been fined. Wow. 4 out of 6,000 hospitals have been fined. They're like, screw you, we're not going to put these numbers publicly. Only 4 have been fined, and the fine is like 20 grand. Mm-hmm. It's not like a big fine that they're doing anyways. They wanted to raise it to 2 million for bigger hospitals. Moral of the story here right now, there has to be a major shift in the way the economy is going. People's income hasn't exploded. This whole concept of the rich getting richer, poor getting poor.
No middle class.
The middle class is gone. RFK talked about this recently when he was talking to Debbie Wasserman. If you can pull up this story, Rob, to go transition into that.
He said that's the only thing that sustains democracy, Pat, is the middle class, and that's what they've been trying to get rid of, is the middle class. Because if you just have rich and poor, it's not sustainable.
Let me read this. So RFK Jr. snaps at Debbie Wasserman Schultz, you are slandering me. This is a story that just came up. This was, what, a couple days ago?
Yeah, last week.
If you have the clip on Twitter, Rob, to show it, let me see here, page 7. So RFK sparred with Florida. By the way, Florida Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz over his history of controversial statements on Thursday. Testifying before so-called House subcommittee on the weaponization of the federal government, Kennedy denied the Congresswoman's characterization of his comments that COVID-19 may have been ethnically targeted, affecting Jewish and Chinese people less than others. As Wasserman Schultz attempted to cut him off, Kennedy got frustrated. You are slandering me incorrectly. What you're saying is dishonest. Angrily pointed a finger in her direction, asked about another one of his past statements in which he invoked Nazi Germany while discussing COVID-19 public health restrictions. He again barked back, Congressman, what you're saying is simply a lie. Can you pull up this video real quick? How long is this video, Rob?
2 minutes, 39 seconds.
Go ahead. We'll play part of it. Go for it.
Mr. Chairman, we respectfully requested that you rescind Mr. Kennedy's invitation to appear here due to his repeated and very recent statements that spread dangerous anti-Semitic and anti-Asian conspiracy theories and attempted to move into executive session because House rules prohibit public testimony that degrades or defames people. His reckless rhetoric helped fuel anti-Semitic incidents, which for the record are at the highest level in the United States since 1970. They have nearly tripled in the last 6 years. Since you gave Mr. Kennedy a megaphone today, I want to give him a chance to correct his statements and prepare some of the harm that he's helped cause. Mr. Kennedy, you're well educated, so yes or no, please. Are you aware that for centuries Jews have been scapegoated and blamed for causing illnesses like Black Plague and more recently COVID?
I am. Those are known as blood libel, and they are one of the worst and most disturbing parts of human history.
Good. I'm glad to know that, of course, that you acknowledge that. Of course, it's true and well documented that this pernicious form of anti-Semitism led to centuries of discrimination, even horrific pogroms and massacres, and it still fuels deadly violence today. Yet last week, you floated a baseless conspiracy theory that the coronavirus was bioengineered to target Caucasians and Black people, but to spare Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese people. Mr. Kennedy, your bizarre, unproven claim echoes that same historic slander of labeling Jews and Chinese people as a race, and that Jews, and in this case Chinese people, somehow managed to avoid a deadly illness that targets other groups for death. You do see that, yes or no?
You're misstating.
No. I quoted what you said earlier, and it is directly what you said. So just ask me yes or no.
I was describing an NIH-funded study.
No, you didn't cite
any. I was describing an NIH-funded study by Cleveland Clinic scientists.
Reclaiming my time. You did not reference. Reclaiming my
published
time.
in USC Medical, which is one of...
I hate her.
The time is mine. I'm reclaiming it. Please ask the witness to stop talking.
You asked me a question.
Reclaiming.
Allow me to answer my question.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like about 10 seconds back.
The time belongs. You are slandering me incorrectly. You're saying it's dishonest.
They can't stand him.
I hate him.
No, they can't stand RFK.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Mr.
I'm
Chairman,
the gentlelady from Florida.
I'd like 15 seconds back.
We will be
Mr.
happy to
Chairman.
give you that.
Thank you so much.
We will be happy.
You did not cite any study like
Yes,
you are
you did.
citing here now during that conversation. You referenced no study at all. You simply labeled Jews and Chinese people as a race, and you also said that somehow they managed to avoid a deadly illness that targets other groups for death. You don't see that? You're trying to rewrite history here.
Okay, so reaction to it, right? You're seeing what's going on. Go ahead, Vinny.
Well, first of all, I don't want everybody to forget who Debbie Wasserman Schultz is. She know who she is, right? During the 2016 election. First of all, I want to make one point. Look at what happens when you work with the Clintons. This is Debbie Wasserman Schultz, 2016. And once you start working with the Clintons, something happens. And show her photo right now. Look at that. Is what happens to you when you're in with the Clintons. And Patrick, mind you, she was during the 2000s.
It's not the same person, is it?
That's her. That is her. That's the Clinton juice inside you right there. So listen, she was a DNC
she
chair.
obviously didn't drink that.
She does not drink adrenochrome.
Looks like a drowned cat.
You guys know what happened? She was the DNC chair, and then WikiLeaks released a bunch of emails between her and the heads of the DNC trying to oust Bernie Sanders. So that's when you're evil inside, that's what comes out of you. But Pat, let's not forget, this is what happens when you're trying to run for the Democratic Party and you said stuff like verbatim. Democrat Party has become a party of forever wars, the party of pharmaceuticals, and the party of censorship. Okay, he's doing exactly what his father and his uncle tried to do, and that's help the American people. But when they want to knock you down, what do they go to? What's their playbook? You're racist. That's number one. And mind you, this is a censorship meeting, and they're a hearing, and they're trying to censor a guy. And everything that she said was completely false. And think about this. The fact that they can't assassinate him, Pat, because you know what? Everybody has a camera. It's not just Zapruder with one camera on the grassy knoll. Everybody has a camera. If they could kill him, they would, but they can't. So when they can't assassinate you with a gun, they assassinate your character. I saw those videos. He didn't say any of that in that context.
This is supposed to be a hearing. A hearing is supposed to be a two-way exchange where Congress subpoenas you, and experts presented by the government and people that are there, like the social media people, are there. Are we really having teen suicides here? And they bring everybody together and they debate it. She is sitting there and trying to corner. Okay, I'm going to talk for 60 seconds. Yes or no, please. Yes or no, please.
Yep.
And it's like, I can't answer that yes or no. I can't answer that yes or no. You're asking me a question. It invokes dialogue. And this is Debbie Wasserman.
Both sides do it to each other. To be fair, both sides do it to each other. Republicans do it to Dems. Dems do it to Republicans. But that's not the concern. The concern to me is how much they fear him.
Big time.
Okay?
Big time.
How much they fear him. By the way,
that's why. Yeah.
Here's the part we have to realize. Unfortunately, he can't be the Ross Perot. I keep talking about that. He could be the Ross Perot. I don't think he can go back and run as a third party if it doesn't work out for him. He's done. He's ran as a Democrat. He can't run as a third party. At the end, he's going to make a lot of noise. He's going to do what he's doing, and eventually he'll be out. And they're not even worried about RFK. They're not even sitting and worried about him, but they fear him. They can't stand him. He's in the way. And the same exact way, by the way, look at the profile of the establishment, who they like and who they don't like. You want to know who the establishment likes? Here's who the establishment likes. The establishment loves, and this is where Chris and I disagree, because everything he said to me, I'm like, you sound like an anti-establishment guy. What happened to you in the last 2.5 years? We've had a lot of good conversations the last couple of days. But, the anti-establishment, this is what they don't like. They don't like somebody they cannot control, okay? They like people they can't control. They couldn't control Andrew Cuomo, and of course he had some issues in the past, but you've known that for many years. So the DNC just waited until they knew they couldn't control him. I bet there was a call. Again, this is speculation. I bet there was a call saying, Andrew, if you don't do X, Y, Z the way we want it, here's what's going to be happening. And guess what? What do you think Andrew probably said? No. Boom. Bye. You're out. You're fired.
Yep.
Immediately he's fired. Hey, guess what? RFK, here's what we know about you. If you don't come out and follow order, guess what? You're going to be fired. He's not doing it. You think this is the worst of what they're going to do to him?
Oh, no.
This is just the beginning what they're going to do to this guy. The best stuff they're hanging on to is in the next couple months here, what's going to happen to him. But the whole conversation here started with the fact that the way America is going today, the future is going to be not necessarily that bright for the next generation, because the future is going to be filled with burdens for the next generation if we don't make better decisions today. College education is being challenged, beautiful thing. Our current system economically is being challenged, beautiful thing. Our term limits is being challenged with Congress because they're not making the best choices. All they're thinking about is what can get them reelected, beautiful thing. There's about 5 or 6 things we can do to put accountability onto people that they can get fired. If we don't have that, it's going to be gone. One of the things I love, the difference between insurance and mortgage and real estate. Check this out. Think about the level of accountability. This part sucks about insurance, but it's also great about insurance. So watch this. If I sell you $1 million house, I'm a realtor. I sell you $1 million house. It's Tom's house. Tom bought this house 20 years ago. He's got a $500,000 loan, okay? And he is now selling it to Adam, okay? So
Thanks,
Adam
Tom.
pays $1 million. Tom walks away with what?
$500,000.
$500,000 minus whatever he paid to the seller's fee. I'm his realtor. And I walk away selling $1 million house at, say, 4%, 5%. Let's say 5%. $50,000 commission. If I'm at 50%, I just got what? $25,000. The bank, you, Vinny, working for B of A, get the loan. So you gave him a loan of $1 million at, let's just say, 6% today. Okay. So you're like, yeah, no problem. I'll give him a loan for 6% based on his credit. He walks away with $500,000. I walk away with the commission. He's not living in the house. You got the loan, okay? 6 months later, if Adam says, screw this, I don't want to make the payment anymore, okay? I don't want to make the payment anymore. What do I say? Can you call me and tell me, hey, Pat, this was your client. You sold it to this, and da-da-da-da. No.
Nope.
I got my commission. You can't do nothing to me. Can you, the bank, go after Tom? Nope. Tom got his money. He sold his house. It's not on him. The only person right now that is left with that debt is who? You.
The bank.
There is no chargeback to me. There is no chargeback to Tom. And guess what Adam's going to say? I'm not going to make the payments for a year. And guess what? You can't kick me out because there's laws in different states that you can't. I don't know what the names of those laws are, but you can't kick me out. I'm staying in this house, okay? Yeah. So in insurance, here's how it works. He is the client. You're AIG. I sell him $1 million insurance policy, and it's $250 a month. You, AIG, pay me an advance commission, 1 year advance commissions. Let's just say you pay me $3,000. Make sense? If 3 months later, Adam says, I don't want to make the payment anymore, and he says 0, guess who calls me to go collect the payment from Adam? You, AIG. And guess what you tell me? If you don't collect the payment from Adam, you're about to get a chargeback of $3,000. That money's going to come back to us. Wow. So guess what I'm doing? I'm calling Adam to make sure we collect the money. This is why many realtors and loan officers don't want to go into life insurance, because they love the fact that they can sell and there is no chargeback. And this is why, in my opinion, insurance agents are bigger professionals, because they have to follow up. And if you're not a professional, you're out of the industry. There's a reason why it's a great life long term. So what's the moral of the story? I just gave you a master class on how insurance and real estate pays commission. The more we can have accountability of multiple parties, this is happening with Medicare and Medicaid. The health insurance company gets their premium on a monthly basis. They pay their deductible, whatever it is, and they walk, well, I got my money. I don't have to worry about it. It's on you now. Hospital, go collect that money. You got to do what you got to do. The more there's accountability to education. Why are you charging this much money? Based on what? Why are you doing this? Why are you charging us so much for Medicare and Medicaid? Why are we not finding out about all this cost? If we can get everybody to be publicly held accountable for the decisions they're making, everything would change. What did Warren Buffett say? He said, I can fix the national debt problem in 5 seconds by doing what? What's his words, Rob? If you can pull this up, it's all over the place. Warren Buffett, how to fix the national debt. You just got to type that into Twitter.
Ratio, he had a whole fact.
No, it was quick.
No, it was quick.
It was very fast.
Just type in Warren Buffett national debt. Just type in national debt.
It's 10 seconds. Yeah, he was eating ice cream.
It's 10 seconds. Go to videos. Don't give what he says. Let's hear what he says himself. So right there. Click on that one right there. Make that bigger. Yeah, it's 42 seconds. Can you play that? Oh, it's okay. If you can make that bigger, audio, beautiful.
Becky Quick.
Perfect. Watch this. This is Warren Buffett, $100 billion guy. Here's what he says. Go for it.
These problems are problems that have built up over decades, and there hasn't been a Congress that's been mature enough, or a president that's been mature enough to take this head on.
I could end the deficit in 5 minutes. You just pass a law that says that anytime there's a deficit of more than 3% of GDP, all sitting members of Congress are ineligible for re-election. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Now you've got the incentives in the right place, right?
Yeah. Brilliant.
Okay,
Brilliant.
By the way, that's accountability.
Big time.
The curse word in America the last 30 years has been accountability. If we can bring accountability in hospitals, in Congress, in Medicare, Medicaid, in real estate, in education, a lot of things are going to change. But they fear that one word, accountability. They fear that one thing because you can get away with murder if there's no accountability.
Well, and there's one side of the political spectrum, Pat, that's been preaching and controlling people by saying, you're not accountable for that. You've been victimized, and I'm here to help you.
And how has that been working out?
Terrible.
Yeah, how has that been working out?
Have those people, okay, has your hero of victimhood, helped you over the last 20 years? Are you better off than you were 20 years ago? No. But you keep voting for it. It's crack cocaine now, and you keep voting for it.
By the way, so we talk about this stuff. You can say, Pat, you're crazy. That's insane. It's not fair. What about this? What about that? Some of you may say, like, when I did the interview with Anthony Weiner, and obviously I said I would never bring up Frazzle Drip because it's irresponsible, right? I would never bring up the 9 out of 12 cops that committed a suicide within a few months. That's irresponsible. And then I talk about why are all these people dying. And I said, your reaction is an answer to Anthony Weiner, right? And media reacts to it. People write about it. There's all these other videos. But guess what happened? Maybe it influenced a few people to go look into it and say, why is this happening? Matter of fact, just this couple days ago, yesterday, story comes out about what? A story comes out about Barack Obama's chef.
Personal chef.
911 phone call for Obama's chef reported possibly drowning. Martha's Vineyard is plunged into chaos as body of ex-president's cook, 45 years old, is found 100 feet from shore in paddle boarding drowning accident. Let me read the story to you. And we're not tying the two together, by the way. This is just the story of people to do research. So it says, Tafari Campbell, great name, a former chef for the Obamas, was found dead in 8 feet of water after a possible drowning incident while paddleboarding on Edgartown, Great Pond, Massachusetts. Witnesses saw him struggling to stay afloat before he went underwater around 7:46 p.m. Massachusetts State Police, U.S. Coast Guard, and local authorities, including Edgartown Fire and Air Wing, were part of the rescue mission. Michelle and Barack Obama paid tribute to Campbell, stating Tafari was a beloved part of our family, a warm, fun, extraordinary kind of person who made all of our lives a little brighter. Campbell was known for brewing White House honey ale beer and was one of the 4 White House cooks asked to stay under the Obama administration. When the story first broke, a lot of different media outlets said the fact that he didn't know how to swim. Matter of fact, there was a post of Instagram of him, hashtag still don't know how to swim or something like that. I don't know if you saw that or not, where he didn't know how to swim. And then a video appeared, Rob, I don't know if you have the video or not. There's a video of him swimming right there. This is him on Twitter. If you can play this clip.
He knows how to swim, Pat.
So this is him swimming. That's pretty solid to swim like that. That's backstroke that he's doing.
Looks
there.
like he has flippers on.
He says progress, fit chef. And
fit chef, there's one where he's doing the backstroke, he's doing the butterfly.
Yeah, so this is him. I don't know if I would call him an Olympic swimmer, but I think he knows how to swim. Okay. And if you're in 8 feet of water and you don't know how to swim, all you got to do is
look, he's doing the backstroke.
Yeah. So look, the story first said he didn't know how to swim. Then this came out that he knew how to swim. By the way, he had twin sons with his wife. He had twin sons with his wife, and the story's out. While we're watching this, Alper, my chef, is standing next to me saying, Alper, did you see this story? He's kind of like, I was saying earlier, he ran out. I haven't seen him since. He just took off.
Because he doesn't know how to swim.
Pat, did you see? Well, first of all, paddleboarding, there's no weight, there's no waves, there's no nothing. It was late at night. He was with somebody else. He was with another male, which nobody knows what happened to that guy. And then Hillary Clinton, I guess, had the same, not a swimming incident, but didn't one of her chefs pass away? This guy, he died by drowning in 2015. It's just weird coincidences that these people are just randomly drowning and dying. And mind you, Pat, if you're not home, is your personal chef chilling at your house and swimming? And is Albert hanging out at your house when you're not there?
When I'm not there, no. But I don't think that would be the reason to jump into conclusion that something could be happening. The whole point is when something like this happened, like for example, I went and ate at this one restaurant MC Chef. I don't know what it's called. It's a beautiful place in Miami. And Sam and I are there, and I said, so tell me the history about this restaurant. I asked the waiter, and the waiter says, oh, you don't know the story of this restaurant? No. He says, the chef used to cook for the Miami Heat all the time. So LeBron, Wade, everybody would come here all the time. I said, no way. He says, yes. He says, you know what happened? I said, what? He says, LeBron liked the chef so much that he hired him, and they moved to L.A. with him. I was like, oh, cool.
Nice.
Because this happens. Like, for me, there's a guy right here I like to go to, a restaurant I go to. I really like the way he does things. If one day I run a restaurant or we do anything, I would like him to come with us because I trust him. There's a relationship with a chef. So Obama's obviously trusted these guys. So let's just kind of look at it without jumping into conclusion with anything. They like the chef so much, they said, hey, why don't you come and be a chef for us? So take all the other stuff that people are speculating. Something could have happened. Something was natural. It took place. It's tragic, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Great. They were out of town. Something like this happened. Now, the other side is, if you can play this clip, this is from June 24th of 2015, if you want to play this.
Now know how Walter Sheeb died. His body was found Sunday night just off the Yerba Canyon trailhead in very rugged terrain. New Mexico State Police say after an autopsy, the medical investigator reports Sheeb drowned, and his death is officially an accident. Sheeb moved to Taos in March. A friend told our partners at the Journal he may have been trying to be closer to his girlfriend.
Bush and
he previously worked as a chef in the White House, first under Bill Clinton, and stayed on when George W. Bush took over. Last night, President Clinton released a statement reading in part, Hillary and I are saddened by the tragic passing of former White House executive chef Walter Sheeb. Our family was grateful to have Walter with us in the White House for 6 years, where we and visitors from around the world loved his delicious and creative meals. And former First Lady Laura Bush added, President Bush and I are saddened by the tragic death of former White House executive chef Walter Sheeb. Walter was an outstanding talent. He prepared magnificent dinners for world leaders and delicious fare for our family and friends. George and I send our heartfelt sympathy to Walter's loved ones.
Nice. What I would say a couple things. Number one, moving forward, before you become a chef at the White House, you have to take a 1-month swimming lesson.
100%.
Like that has to be mandatory
100%.
moving forward because we can't afford these steps. It's a pattern. So now somebody may say, come on, guys, I can't believe you're going there. Establishment presidents, chef, drowning, all those three are pretty establishment type of presidents. A little bit weird that the average person is saying that's kind of weird, right? So why do we talk about this kind of stuff? We're not talking about the educational system. Is there reason to send your kids to school or not? You know what it does? Somebody watches it, and they go take a deeper dive and say, this is my cause. The other night, we're doing an event here with Dave Smith. We're in the back having cigars with a bunch of different guys, and everybody's asking these questions and saying, so what do I do next? What is my cause? What is my fight? What is my this? There's about 100 fights you can pick and choose, okay? One could be, you don't like the educational system in America. Be obsessed about it. Go study every single thing you can about the educational system in different countries. What's right? What's wrong? What works? What doesn't? Become maniacal about that one topic. Another one could be what's going on with LGBTQ in schools and what they're doing. Go spend hundreds of hours just studying that topic, know so much about it on how other countries handle it, and come out and say, why are we doing this? This is kind of weird. When did this happen? Like the video we did with the LGBTQ video in schools being exposed, the dark side of it. Go do your own due diligence with it. But the point is, we do this podcast and we bring variety of guests for it to spark. Like I just watched right now in the comments section, Eric Rodriguez, it's Scott Rodriguez, I'm sorry. Scott Rodriguez has been a member of PBD Podcast, paying on a monthly basis for 13 months now. Congratulations, Scott. We appreciate your loyalty. But he just quietly, we don't normally recognize these guys, he just bought 10 memberships for other members to be on the PBD Podcast. Right now, he did that. Shout out to you, Scott. I'm sure we're going to see you here with the Vivex event.
He's the one that gave you the World War II.
He's the one that gave me a sick gift that got me emotional when I read the note. But we do this, and then people go, and they can come back and send an email and say, Pat, this is where you were wrong. All ears.
Great.
I want to read about it. Tell me, expose it. Or, Pat, I didn't think you even went that deep into it. You guys should have gone deeper. Or, Vinny, that one thing you talked about, read this article. Hey, Tom, can you read that article? Hey, Adam, can you read this article? And then the stories go more and more and more. But I think it's just a little bit weird that all of a sudden chefs have a pattern of disappearing from 3 presidents that are very close to each other.
Pat, I'm all about patterns, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but isn't it weird? You tweet at Hillary yesterday, and all of a sudden you're plumbing is something's wrong with your plumbing. I'm just throwing that out there, Pat. Something's wrong with his plumbing all of a sudden. In a multi-million-dollar house, all of a sudden, there's poop stuck in the pipes. I don't know, Pat. That's...
Yeah. Suddenly you have a sewage fountain and reflecting pool in front. And it's like,
yeah, that's Hillary. You saw what happened to Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She looks like an alien now. You got to be careful, Pat. Don't ever tweet Hillary
it's perfectly acceptable for the.
Although the most
line
interesting
of
thing of the whole thing
that,
is the Clinton quote about losing their chef was actually dated a week before he died. So it's sort of interesting. Maybe they were going to be out of town. They were going to be out of town the following week, and they had to just be sure they, you know.
I think it's perfectly acceptable for the line of questioning that you used on Anthony Weiner, especially how close he was with the Clintons and all the stories and the narrative that have been surrounding that. At the same time, let's not rush to judgment or even speculate on what the Obamas did or the Bush did with the chef. I think it's a little too premature. I think that it's well within our right to bring it up, no doubt. Do I think there was anything nefarious? Do I think that the Obamas had the chef killed? Because no, I'm not there. You know how I feel about that.
100%.
But you do your thing.
Yeah.
I'll do my thing. I think that it does deserve attention, you know. And if you do want to look into it more, something tells me there was nothing nefarious going on here. But we'll see how the facts play out.
There's a 99% chance there was nothing
Zero.
nefarious going on.
He drowned.
But here's the part.
Yeah.
The one thing we need, does that mean the 1% chance doesn't require a level of accountability and due diligence and research? Not at all.
No doubt.
Go look it up and see what comes out. But there's a 99% chance there was nothing nefarious going on here. In regards to Hillary Clinton, different story. It's one too many names. I think I'm not at 99% chance. I'm probably closer to a different percentage, but it is what it is. So I want to show you a clip here. Why the American people, if you're somebody that's watching this and saying, man, I don't know if I trust the government as much as I used to, maybe you have a valid reason. Can you play this clip with this? Can you play this clip? Oh, by the way, LeBron James' son just suffered cardiac arrest.
What?
Bronny James suffers cardiac arrest, collapses on USC court. LeBron
just now.
What the hell?
Holy shit.
This just happened right now, yeah.
Cardiac arrest?
This is his first year at USC, I want to say.
And again, Pat, you know what people are going to ask? Do you know what's going to happen? Was he vaccinated? That's going to be the number one question. Was he vaxxed? Because you know LeBron is. 100%. I want to find out if they...
He's an 18-year-old super athlete, son of a billionaire.
Why is he collapsing?
Now this is a story that we can discuss and speculate. That is very weird. Can we scroll down? Is there any justification?
Because that's going to be the question. And like the same thing with Jamie Foxx is the question is, are you vaxxed? Are you boosted? Are you...
The eldest son of Lakers superstar was hospitalized Monday after going into cardiac arrest, collapsing during a basketball practice. He's 18, placed in ICU, now in stable condition. He was practicing, suffered cardiac arrest. Medical staff was able to treat Bronny, take him to the hospital. Media update, more information. Savannah and publicly deepest thanks.
I have another article here that says that... and I'm going to pull it up, but it says that LeBron James and his family are vaccinated.
Yeah. There's no, listen, Pat, and I
very
strange, and I'm, you know what I'm getting sick and tired of? People that are like just like the Anthony Weiner's, Pat, they're like, no, you guys, like, man, people have been collapsing, and people are, I've been alive for 45 years, and I paid attention. Never in the history of my life have I seen this many people, these ages, college people, interviewers, that soccer interviewer just passed out and fainted. No, it's not like, oh, they're dehydrated. No, something is going on, and there's no excuse. You don't think he gets seen by doctors and he's in tip-top shape? The son of the dopest basketball player on the planet that has all the money in the world, an 18-year-old has no business collapsing.
Very weird.
I'm sorry, bro.
Let's see
how
this plays
out. So like Pat just said, do your research, dig into it. And you said they are vaccinated, Rob?
Yes, that's according to
and how many boosters? God knows how many boosters. Who knows?
Well, listen, this has happened a couple times. I think it happened, Peter, with Reggie Lewis, right? It happened with him, and it also happened with Pistol Pete when it happened to him in Pasadena at a First Nazarene church. Actually, I used to go to that place. In a pickup game, he had a heart attack in the middle of the basketball game, and he just collapsed. So it's happened before.
Yes.
This is not the first or the last time that it happened, but we're going to see what kind of investigation they're going to do into this because it shouldn't be happening to a healthy 18-year-old kid.
It happened. LaMarcus Aldridge a year ago had to sit out an entire season for heart issues.
Yeah.
Who was the Bosch? Chris Bosh had something.
Chris Bosh had
heart stuff.
He had blood clots.
Mourning had something as well years ago. Lonzo Mourning, I don't know if you remember when he had to do big surgery.
This is very weird. This sucks. This is sad. This is horrible to hear. Let's not rush a judgment. A lot of people rush a judgment about Jamie Foxx recently. He just came out and basically said, I'm back.
Yeah.
And there was some sort of, I don't know if it was a stroke situation.
Well, that's the thing. Nobody knows.
Yeah,
Nobody has any
quiet about it, but it is very
idea.
weird. We have every right to question what's going on.
It's too early. Listen, LeBron, if there's one thing, I don't agree with LeBron on many things. LeBron's, the way his relationship is with his kids, on how he allowed his son to change the name from LeBron to Bronny to have his own identity. He everything about him as a father, family, he does it right. So props to him in that area. And I'm sure the last thing you want is a father going through the pain of seeing something like this with your son.
Totally agree
Forget
with you.
about the fact that it's embarrassing or whatever. It's public. The pain of a father and a mother going through it. So let's let this thing come out. We'll hear more stories about it later on. So go to this clip here. Little weird clip when I saw this clip. So here's somebody that's giving a message, reading something, and I want you to see the girl in the back on how she's just watch. It's a little weird. Okay, tell me if this is a little weird.
Is it Plaskett Pat?
Go ahead and play this. Go ahead and play this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning to everyone. Just have some administrative
Watch this.
matters first.
The girl in the right corner. Listen.
Page 55.
Can you raise the audio, or that's it, Rob?
Oh, she's looking.
Look at her.
Yeah, she looks like she's going to pass out.
Watch.
No, she wrote it.
Took place on July 17, 2023.
Oh, she's going.
No, she's reading it to herself.
Yeah.
The question was asked, okay, if someone were to leave here today, were to leave this interview and were to suggest or imply that when you said the laptop was real, that it meant that the FBI had affirmatively determined in October 2020 that the laptop belonged to Hunter Biden, that the contents belonged to Hunter Biden.
That look is like if you're playing poker against somebody like that.
She has aces.
Get off the table.
Representing what you said, correct? Answer by Ms. Demlow. They would be representing
look how she
what I
corrects.
said.
She probably
because
wrote
I don't
this.
have much knowledge of that. They would be misrepresenting.
Yeah, look at her. She wrote that.
I said,
she wrote it.
I don't have
she wrote
much
this.
knowledge of that.
They would be
This went a totally different direction. I thought she was about to pass out.
No, she wrote it. She wrote the speech.
She's the ghostwriter.
She memorized it.
Little weird. So we got ghost painters, ghost writers.
How weird do you think that is, though? I feel like staffers are writing speeches all the time.
Well, 100%. Debbie Wasserman Schultz didn't write what she wrote.
I don't think that's the part that's weird. I think the topic of this issue is very weird. They're talking about Hunter Biden and you know, for her to be sitting there freaking out with the words that are coming out of the person that's speaking, you know, it's a little bit concerning that she has to correct the person that doesn't know how to, you know.
That didn't even write it.
Shocker, the politician is just reading words that are on the screen like Ron Burgundy out here.
Weird.
Yeah. Well, stay classy, Adam.
Of
Seriously,
course.
honestly.
Pat, how would you feel when they're speaking on something and somebody kept popping up like that? That wouldn't play well. I don't know how many leaders that would play well. Be like, hang on a second, don't interrupt me. Let me deliver. Look, I have to deliver a speech. I have to make a statement. For better, for worse, I have to do it. But don't make me look weak by popping up next to me.
Forget about the weak. This to me was a little bit weird on the way she was handling herself. I may have a conversation with her, and I'm going to say, hey, can we have a conversation? I want you to watch yourself on this video. Why do you look like the Unabomber, like you're tied up with all these bombs around you? Relax.
Right, take it easy.
Just sit down and, you know, correct me if you need to, but wipe that look off your face. You look scary. Anyways, Netanyahu warns Israel is on the brink of a military coup. This is a story from the Jewish press. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issues a warning about a potential military coup, stating when elements in military try with threats to dictate policy to the government, this is unacceptable in any democracy, and if they succeed in dictating their threats, this is the end of a genuine democracy. Netanyahu accuses Prime Minister Ehud Barak of being the mastermind behind the coup attempt, funding and orchestrating protests. Barak's 2020 video interview is incited where he discussed methods, leaders, and goals of protest movements. Clashes between the government and demonstrators have been escalating with reservists and military personnel expressing reluctance to comply with the government's policies. There are concerns about possible use of force and disruptions going on here. So, Adam, what's going on here right now with Israel?
Yeah, well, this is a story that I've actually been following pretty closely because I was just in Israel, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. And amazing place, amazing country. Went and saw Jerusalem, Tel Aviv. I went to the Armenian quarter. I saw your people. I went to the Christian quarter. Tom, I saw your people. I went to the alien quarter. I saw your people. Went to the Jewish quarter. I went to the Muslim quarter. I went and experienced it all. But what I did see specifically in Tel Aviv were a lot of protests at the train stations. And I told my buddy who was driving around, I'm like, what's going on here? They're like, Netenyahu, protest, it's going on. He's trying to be a dictator and judicial reform. I'm like, what is going on here right now? So I explored this a little bit more. And I've been following the story. Here's what I've basically uncovered. So essentially the best way to understand what's happening in Israel is the closest analogy that I can make to Bibi Netanyahu is it'd be like, let's say Donald Trump was president for multi terms.
Yes.
Okay, because Bibi's been in politics, I want to say the prime minister, in and out of politics for 20 years. But basically he was accused of all sorts of stuff. He's on the Likud party, which is the right-wing conservative party. And he was basically accused of illegal actions and bribery and all this kind of stuff. But he came back. It's almost like as if Trump won again in 2024 after being removed in 2020, and he's back. And here's what I will tell you, just to kind of start the overarching theme here. Just like in America, there's liberals and conservatives and all sorts of things. It's all that and then some in Israel. So if you go to Jerusalem, it's very religious. It's very conservative. It's Orthodox Jews. If you go to Tel Aviv, bro, that is LGBT Pride Central. Like,
really?
It's to the point where I'm like, whoa, relax.
Yeah.
It was crazy. There was more Pride flags in Tel Aviv than there were Israeli flags. It was quite shocking to me. Now they said, well, it was just Pride Week a couple weeks ago. They haven't removed all the flags, but it's very, very,
rainbow.
Let's just say woke.
Yeah.
So what's happening right now is since Bibi Netanyahu, nobody's denying the fact that they've had amazing economic growth in the last 20 years. Nobody. Israel, there's a book that I read years ago called Startup Nation. The technology sector, the military sector, the business sector, the entrepreneurial sector have grown exponentially in the last 20 years. Yeah, here's the book right here. Came out in 2011, exactly. So nobody's denying that. What they are basically saying is that Bibi is basically becoming more of an authoritarian regime, almost like Trump's back. He made it back in office, and now he's trying to take a stronghold on the country. And let's not forget, Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. Some countries are closed. Some say Algeria. Some say Lebanon-ish. That's the only full-on democracy. That's why their interests are aligned with the United States. There is a common interest and shared values. To be clear here, what Bibi Netanyahu is doing the following. He's basically doing a judicial overhaul. Essentially what his premise is like, look, the Supreme Court has been too activist and too liberal for many years. It's time for us to take it over. So what's happening is essentially probably the most serious domestic crisis possibly ever in the 75-year history of the United States. We all know that they have foreign issues with Iran, with the Palestinians, with Middle Eastern countries. But this is probably the biggest assault on democracy, the biggest issue that they've had in 75 years. Now, his coalition is basically saying, we're with you. The Supreme Court has way too many problems. The people on the left are basically saying this is overreach, and it's playing out. I mean, ultimately, it comes down to this. Democracy is ugly. People voted for Bibi Netanyahu. I actually think he's a strong leader, a capable leader. But I actually completely understand the people on the left that are basically saying, no, the Supreme Court should not be essentially shut down and quelled. And they're worried that he's becoming a strong man. And at the end of the day, I think, what is it, Churchill said, democracy is the worst form of government, except for everything else. We're watching how the sausage gets made. It's not pretty. It's not fun to watch. But what are your alternatives? Saudi Arabia, Iran, Libya, Syria, Lebanon. I'll take what's going on in Israel over any other country in the Middle East.
Yeah. You know, when I think about Netanyahu, I see somebody. By the way, they reached out about wanting to do an interview. So we're right now talking to see what's going to happen. You know, we don't want to do a 1 hour one. I'd like to do a 2 hour one because I got a lot of questions to ask. So we may actually fly out there to do the interview. If it doesn't happen, It was more of an hour one. If it does happen, know the fact that it's going to be a 2-hour.
In Israel, it's called chetzi chetzi. We meet in the middle, 50-50, an hour and a half.
I'm more 2 hours. So if they do it, we'll fly. For me to take time to go out there, and by the way, respect to him. He's got a tough job. He's got a lot of other responsibilities. But we would love to talk to him. We'd love to talk to a lot of different people. But, when I see Netanyahu, I see someone that wants this job. Mm-hmm. Like I see someone that's been wanting this job for a very, very long time, and he was upset that he was ousted, okay? This is the part where I always ask myself, what is Tucker's vision? Does Tucker want to go follow a Netanyahu, Churchill type of a model as a journalist who has been... Imagine if you are someone that's been in journalism and debate for the last 30 years, 20 years, and all you do is read every single story. Sure. Who else knows the stories better than you for 20, 30 years, and you're charismatic, and you got a personality, and you're a true believer, and you're on debate stage? You've been debating for 20, 30 years. It's not like you don't have a way of doing it, but it'll be interesting to see what happens in Israel. But also at the same time, I think, Tucker has to answer a question. Does he want to be the Netanyahu Churchill of U.S.? We'll see what happened there. I want to wrap up the podcast with 11:01. Did you want to say one final thing?
I'll just say one thing. You're talking about the U.S. and how there is conversations within the United States right now because how this is applicable to us as a major ally. Joe Biden has not invited Bibi Netanyahu to the White House. He did invite President Yitzhak Herzog, is his name, to meet with him. So there is this pulling of the strings here. Trump has famously touted, I'm the most pro-Israel president ever. We know that. He said that a million times. So we'll see how this shakes out on the coming of the 2024 election. If it is Biden, if it is Trump, where, a lot of Republicans are basically calling out Biden. There is that sort of delicate dance happening in Congress as we speak.
And to be fair, the day Biden won the first people to tweet, world leaders to tweet out congratulating Biden was Netanyahu.
Yeah.
And people were like, I can't believe he did that because he wanted him. He didn't want Trump. Even some of the Trump loyalists were not happy about that. But Netanyahu's played his cards.
There's no doubt that Netanyahu and Trump have a closer relationship than Biden.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, presidents come and go, and the Israeli-U.S. alliance is very strong.
It's just funny the fact that Biden hasn't made an effort. Anyways, we are at the end of the podcast. Thursday, we will let you know what's going to happen with Thursday. Originally, we weren't going to do Thursday because I was going to go to the card collection convention that's happening this week. Unfortunately, I will not be able to go out. But I do want to wrap it up with some of you guys that are watching this content, and you have you're somebody that's on the business side, and you want to be doing, on the business and spend a couple of days with us on strategy. We have the Vault Conference that's coming up. It'll sell out this week, August 30th to September 2nd. Myself, Tom Brady, Mike Tyson, Will Guidara, and 3,000 other people that are entrepreneurs, executive salespeople that want to take their business and their lives to the next level. If you haven't yet registered, CEO tickets, gone. Founder tickets, gone. Executive tickets, gone. The only ones that are left are Platinum and General. And right now, if you buy a ticket, you get the second one, 50% off. Click on a link to get registered for us to see you at the Vault Conference in Miami. Vinny will be there. Tom will be there. Adam may be there. We don't know yet if we're going to invite
I'm not invited.
Adam.
What's going on
But our crew will be here. We can't wait to see all of you guys at the Vault Conference. With that being said, gang, we will do this again on Thursday. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye. David here from Valuetainment and PBD Podcast. Look, once a year, we host a conference called the Vault Conference. It's our Super Bowl where 3,000 entrepreneurs, CEOs, executives, salespeople from around the world come together to spend 3.5 days together from August 30th to September 2nd at the Diplomat Resort in Miami to learn how to scale their business, how to identify their next 5, 10, 15 moves, who to recruit next, who to go raise their money from, how to raise capital, how to properly scale, culture, retention, hire, fire, all of those things and much more. And we do that over a span of 3.5 days. And the reason why it's a very important season to attend a conference like this, the following reason. Today, there's 3 different types of people. They're scared, there are those that are content, and the obsessed. The scared, they don't want to do anything because they're worried about what's going to happen in the economy. They're going to take a big hit. The content, they're walking around saying, life is pretty okay, I don't need to do anything else. And then there's the obsessed because they see a massive opportunity today. So imagine spending 3.5 days with 3,000 obsessed people that want to grow in a season like this. Imagine how much you can learn from just those relationships and networks. So on top of the people that are going to be attending at this event, this is probably the best lineup we'll ever have at a Vault Conference. Tom Brady, 7-time champion. I'll be interviewing him. He'll be at the Vault Conference. Mike Tyson, Will Guidara, The gentleman who ran the restaurant 11 Madison, New York, that went from a regular restaurant to a 1 Michelin star, 2 Michelin star, 3 Michelin star, and eventually the #1 restaurant in the world. He's going to talk about how they treat their customers. So look, if you've not registered yet, this is my recommendation to you. I never went to conferences when I was coming up by myself. I always went with a spouse, with a business partner, or a running mate, because I only have a lens on what I see. Every night afterwards, we would sit there and say, what was your biggest takeaway? So get yourself, your spouse, your partner, your running mate registered to come spend 3.5 days with us at the Diplomat Resort in Miami from August 30th to September 2nd. I will see you there.